The Forsaken Heir. Episode 90. Ruali hugged Roma's waist tightly and asked excitedly, "Mom, why are you here? How did you come in?" Roma saw that the Japanese soldiers had retreated, and said, "Ruali, your father asked me to come." "Dad?" Ruali asked hurriedly, "How is Dad now? Has he returned to China? There is no danger, right?" Roma shook her head and said softly, "Don't worry, your father is fine. He has returned to East Cliff safely." Ruali just breathed a sigh of relief and muttered, "Dad is fine." Roma said, "If Ruali, your dad originally wanted to come to Japan to rescue you personally, but he is now the subject of strict monitoring by the Japanese National Security Department, so it is not convenient to come to Japan again in a short time, so he let me meet you." Ruali was very puzzled and asked, "Mom, the self-defense forces kept me so tight, how did you get in? Why did they let you in?" Roma said, "The Japanese authorities have indeed reached the highest level of control over you, and your dad has inquired about it. They hope to sentence you and several principal offenders to death. In order to save you, your dad spent a lot of money on the self-defense forces. The high-level officers have a good relationship and are ready to rescue you. Help me out!" Ruali exclaimed, and asked, "How is this possible? The Japanese self-defense forces guard me very closely now, and there are tens of thousands of self-defense forces on the ground. Soldier, how could you rescue me from here?" Roma explained, "Although you are currently being detained by the Japanese self-defense forces, the self-defense forces cannot represent the Japanese judiciary after all, so you still have to be tried by a Japanese court, and according to Japanese law, you are to be escorted back to the place where the case was committed. The court accepts trial?" Ruali asked hurriedly, "Then we are going to be escorted to Tokyo for trial?" "Yes." Roma nodded and said, "The Japanese self-defense forces will use their military transport aircraft to send you back to Tokyo. After arriving in Tokyo, the Special Operations Team of the TMPD will be responsible for escorting. At that time, your father will arrange a stand-in in Tokyo, and with the help of a senior from the TMPD, you will be replaced." Ruali was dumbfounded, and only after a long while she asked, "Mom, can you change me out so grandiosely?" Roma took her hand and said seriously, "Don't worry about this, your father has already arranged it. Before the double is found out, he can buy you 12 hours. At that time, your father will arrange for you to travel from Tokyo port. Leave Japan by boat." With that, Roma squeezed Ruali's hand and said with emotion, "Ruali, to save you this time, your father spent nearly 1 billion yuan to clear the relationship between the self-defense force and the TMPD. If you can return home safely, and you must repay your father well in the future." Ruali's eyes were red, and she nodded while crying, and choked up, "Mom, don't worry, I will repay my father well." Roma nodded and said, "Also, after you return to China this time, the Japanese side will definitely do everything possible to catch you back. If they know that you have returned, they will definitely apply to our country and extradite you. Go back to Japan for trial, so after you go back, you have to live under a different name. You will no longer be able to use this name in the future." Ruali hurriedly asked, "Mom, if I can no longer be called Ruali in the future, what should I call?" Roma said, "Your dad said, you can pick up the name as you like, and he will help you get the relevant household registration information." Ruali flashed a flash of joy. Just as she was about to speak, Roma added, "Ruali, your father said, you cannot continue to have the last name Su, or you can call any name other than Ruali, but you can't use the character of the Su family." Ruali's expression of joy just now became extremely bitter. She looked at Roma and asked, "Mom, Dad still doesn't want others to know who I am." Roma said with an ashamed expression, "Ruali, you are your father's illegitimate daughter after all, and few people know about this. Apart from your father, only your grandfather knows about the relationship between your father and me. Liana, if she knows that your father still has an illegitimate daughter like you, she will definitely break with your father." Ruali choked up and said, "Mom, can't I tell others that Zinsu is my father all my life? Do I have to be a girl who has no father since childhood?" Roma's eyes were red, and she sighed, "Ruali, the reason why your father had that past with me back then was entirely my own request. He didn't even know your existence for many years, so you can't blame him. Unwilling to disclose your identity. What's more, your dad paid a very high price to save you this time. Even if he can't publicly claim that you are his daughter, deep down in his heart, he also loves you very much. Can't blame him, do you understand?" Ruali sighed when she heard this, nodded slightly, and said seriously, "Mom, I know, don't worry, I will never mention this matter again in the future, let alone blame Dad in my heart." Roma squeezed Ruali's hand hard, and said seriously, "In a few days, you will be escorted to Tokyo. Then someone will contact you, replace you, and send you to the dock. Mom will be waiting for you at home." Ruali hurriedly asked, "Mom, won't you wait for me in Tokyo?" Roma shook her head and said, "Your dad said, once you successfully escape, Japan will definitely check everyone who has recently entered the country. At that time, if it is found that I am from China and I have been to Osaka, the incident will happen again. I went to Tokyo before, which meant that I gave the Homeland Security Department a complete clue for nothing. So after he told me to meet you, I immediately returned from Osaka to avoid leaving clues. As for Tokyo, he will arrange for others to meet you." Ruali nodded and said, "Okay Mom, I know. You wait for me to go back in peace in China." At this time, someone opened the door and said, "Time is almost up." Roma looked at Ruali reluctantly, and said, "Ruali, take care of yourself these few days, Mom will go." Ruali nodded gently with tears, "Mom, take care, and also help me to say thanks to Dad." Roma patted her arm and whispered, "There is no 100% success rate in everything, but you must promise Mom and come back alive." Ruali looked at Roma, nodded heavily, and said with tears in her eyes, "Mom, don't worry, I will come back to see you alive." Roma touched her face with one arm, and said lovingly, "After you come back this time, don't go back to Sue's house. You will stay with your mother at Grandma's house for a while, and wait for the limelight to fade before going back." Ruali gave a hum and said, "Mom, take care." Roma said in a low voice, "Don't disclose the matter of saving you to anyone who are arrested with you, because this time only you can leave. If you let them know, in case of unrest, I am afraid it will cause trouble." Ruali sighed softly, Okay mom, I see, Roma nodded, and then reluctantly left. And Ruali was also taken back to her cell by soldiers. However, Ruali at this time was full of gratitude to Xin in her heart. Although she is only an illegitimate daughter, and her father Xin cannot admit her identity, Xin is willing to pay such a high price to rescue her. This is indeed far beyond Ruali's expectations of Xin, and it also makes her heart move deeply. Originally, she was ready to be sentenced to death, but after seeing her mother Roma, she rekindled hope for the future life. East Cliff time, 10 o'clock in the evening. The Charlie family in front of the TV are watching the Spring Festival Gala on TV. Claire's emotions seemed a bit agitated, and said to Charlie, "The program published on the internet says that Sarah's solo singing will be in prime time at 10:10 and should be coming soon." Charlie nodded, he couldn't help but look forward to it. Although he knows that Sarah is a big star, he hasn't watched Sarah's film and television dramas, nor has he heard her singing songs. This is mainly related to Charlie's personality. He has no need for entertainment, so naturally he doesn't care about the entertainment industry. However, he naturally cared a little more about Sarah. After all, this was his childhood friend who grew up with him, and she was also the fiancée that his parents made for him. So he and Claire looked forward to the TV together, looking forward to Sarah's appearance. The timing of the Spring Festival Gala is almost exactly the same. At 10:10, the host smiled and said, "It is said that the taste of first love is the most beautiful feeling in life." Next, the film and television song superstar Miss Sarah will bring her to us. The new single First Love. Afterward, Sarah, wearing an elegant evening dress, stepped onto the gorgeous stage. Claire said excitedly, "Wow! Sarah's dress is really beautiful." Charlie couldn't help but nod in agreement. Sarah on TV deliberately put her long hair lightly behind her head, which is a little more dignified and a little more charming than before. Elaine looked at Sarah and couldn't help sighing, "Oh, this girl is really beautiful. Much more beautiful than those female stars." After finishing speaking, he said with some regret, "In fact, with the appearance of Claire, she can also enter the entertainment circle and become a star. Even if it is compared with Sarah, Claire is not inferior." Claire smiled and said, "Mom, you are too praising me. How can I be a star? I like actors but not acting, and I want to hear a voice without mine going out to others." Elaine said seriously, "What's the matter? Now, being a celebrity doesn't need acting or a voice at all, it's enough to be beautiful. Look at those popular stars who can produce albums even if the tone is not perfect. The movie, why? Aren't you good looking?" Claire shook her head helplessly, "Mom, don't talk about it, let me watch the show." Well, Elaine did not forget to add another sentence, "Claire, what Mom said is true, and Mom thinks you are really fine." At this time, Sarah was already singing. When she opened her mouth, Elaine couldn't help but exclaimed, "Oh! This girl's voice is really good." Claire hurriedly waved her hand, "Mom, stop talking." Charlie was also a little surprised by Sarah's voice. Although she seemed to be just an idol star, when she opened her mouth, she showed very good singing skills, absolutely professional. The tune of this song is melodious and fresh and refined. It is similar to the song Legend sung by the Queen. Charlie couldn't help being immersed in it. After Sarah sang for 5 minutes later, Charlie was still immersed in the wonderful atmosphere created by her singing just now. Claire's eyes flushed even more, and she clapped unconsciously, and said with emotion, "Sarah sings really well. This song is particularly moving." Then, she said to Charlie, "Husband, Sarah will come to Oris Hill for a concert in a while, will you accompany me to watch it?" Charlie couldn't help feeling a little embarrassed when he heard this. Sarah did invite him to her concert, but if he goes with Claire, this thing feels a bit wrong. He sighed in his heart, although I have never thought of divorcing Claire and honoring the marriage contract my parents made for me and Sarah, I can't bear to take Claire to watch her concert. This is a little bit unfair for her. Just when Charlie hesitated, Claire couldn't help but coquettishly said, "Husband, you should accompany me to see it once, is it okay? I beg you." After finishing speaking, she added, "I will go grab the ticket then, if I can't get it, I'll go to the scalper to buy it. You don't have to worry about anything, and you just have to pay someone else." Charlie heard this and knew that Claire must be determined to go to Sarah's concert. Even if he didn't agree, she would go. Moreover, he has promised Sarah to go to her concert, and he will definitely not break his promise by then. In this way, he can only agree to it. So he said to Claire, "My wife, don't worry, I will accompany you when that happens." Then he said, "Oh, right, you don't have to worry about getting tickets anymore. Last time I went to Ms. Gu's house to see Feng Shui. Ms. Gu should be more or less able to save face, and I will find her, then it shouldn't be a problem to ask for 2 tickets for the front row." Claire asked in surprise, "Husband, are you telling the truth? Can I really find Miss Gu for the front row tickets?" The front row tickets for Miss Gu's concert are very popular, and they are generally not released at all. When they were sold, the price was increased several times or even dozens of times. Once at a concert in Yanqing, the first row of tickets was fired to 100,000, which was an order of magnitude higher than anyone. Charlie smiled and said, "Miss Gu is still very angry, I believe she will definitely give this face." Claire excitedly said, "That's great. Thank you, husband, for supporting my star-chasing career." Charlie couldn't help sighing. At this moment, the phone received a WeChat message and Sarah sent a text message, "Charlie, have you watched my performance in front of the TV?" The Spring Festival Gala was broadcast live to 1.4 billion viewers across the country, so the Charlie family had just watched Sarah's show in front of the TV, and Sarah had just finished the show and came backstage. At this moment, she didn't care about changing clothes, so she quickly sent Charlie a WeChat first. What she cares most about is Charlie's views on her performance. Originally, the Spring Festival Gala director team hoped that she could sing her other famous song, a song about friendship. Sarah had already promised the director team to sing that song, but after meeting Charlie again, she had the idea of changing the song. So, she negotiated with the director team and expressed her wish to change the song. In the beginning, the Spring Festival Gala director group was very reluctant. This is mainly because the Spring Festival Gala performance has always been very meticulous and cautious, and such things as temporary song changes have almost never happened. However, Sarah has been working hard, and finally the program team saw that she really wanted to sing today's song, so she had to compromise. Sarah chose to sing the song First Love today because she wanted to sing for Charlie. There is a lyric in this song, which she wrote specially for Charlie. The lyric is, "From the first time I saw you, you have been deeply burned in my heart, and I crossed the sea of people, I found you all the way, just to tell you that in this life, I will never leave you again." Charlie couldn't feel the affection in Sarah's song. But he can only pretend not to know, and reply to Sarah, "I watched your performance and it was great. You sang very well." Sarah happily sent a message, "This song is written for you." Charlie asked in surprise, "You wrote this song yourself?" "Yes." Sarah said, "I am the songwriter, okay." Charlie replied with a thumbs-up expression, and exclaimed, "I didn't expect that not only would you sing well, but you would also write your own songs. It's amazing." Sarah sent a playful expression with a tongue out, saying, "I learned the piano from my mother when I was a child, and then I was fine while playing the piano and hummed. I slowly tried to write a few songs. After I published it, I felt that the response was pretty good. So I wrote more, one after another." Charlie praised sincerely, "It's really great. Unparalleled." Sarah was satisfied and said, "Charlie, I wrote this song specifically for you a few years ago. I didn't find you at that time, so the lyrics are another version. After I found you, I made some more lyrics. Adjusted, that's why there is this version." Charlie was moved in his heart and replied, thank you for always remembering me, and thank you for doing so much for me for so many years." Sarah sent a shy expression and said, "These are all things that should be done. Who made me your child bride since I was young?" Charlie was speechless at once. It is not an exaggeration to say that she is a child bride for marriage since she was a child. At this time, Sarah sent another message, "Charlie, I won't talk to you for now. My parents are still at home waiting for me to go back to eat New Year's Eve dinner, and then stay together. I have to go now." Charlie knows that it's not easy for every actor to participate in the Spring Festival Gala. They all participate in the performance on New Year's Eve. If they are local actors from Eastcliff, they are relatively better. After the performance is over, they will immediately change their clothes when they step down. "Hurry home to spend the holiday with my family." Some foreign actors are more sentimental. In order to go to the Spring Festival Gala, they can only spend the festive season in a different place alone. Fortunately, Sarah's house is in Eastcliff, and her performance time is very good. Now she rushed back. Before New Year's Eve, she can stay with her family until 12 o'clock. So Charlie replied, "Then you go back and accompany your uncles and aunts, and help me bring a good one to your uncles and aunts. I wish they still have you, and Happy New Year." Sarah also replied, "Thank you, Charlie, and wish you a Happy New Year." Afterwards, Charlie put away the phone, and concentrated on watching the Spring Festival Gala with his wife Claire. When it was almost 12 o'clock, Jacob said with emotion, "Hey, although firecrackers are banned now, although it is environmentally unfriendly, the Chinese New Year is indeed a bit less flavorful. What a pity, yes." Claire on the side could not help but sigh, "When I was young, I especially liked the smell of fireworks exploded by firecrackers, and now I rarely see them." Charlie said, "Although firecrackers are not allowed to be set off in the urban area, in the suburbs it is still possible. Do you want to celebrate with firecrackers in the suburbs? Claire's eyes brightened, then dimmed again, and shook her head and said, "Forget it, everyone is spending the spring festival at home at this point. Where can I find firecrackers?" Charlie thought for a while and sent a message to Isaac and asked him, "Mr. Isaac, do you have some fireworks in stock in Shangri-La?" Isaac replied immediately, "Some, young masters, do you need?" "Right." Charlie said, "My wife wants to go to the suburbs to shoot some." Isaac hurriedly said, "Then I will send it to you." "No need." Charlie said, "Have a good time at your festival, don't delay reunion with your family because of me." After that, Charlie asked him again, "Shangri-La is open, right? Some staff?" Isaac said, "Shangri-La is open 24 hours a day, and there are always people on duty." Charlie said, "Okay, then you say hello to the person on duty, I'll drive over to pick it up." Isaac was very moved by Charlie's actions, and said quickly, "Master, or I will let the person on duty send it to you, anyway, they also get 3 times the salary on duty." Charlie replied, "Forget it, for the new year, I don't want to toss others, it's not appropriate, I drive by myself. This time will definitely not be a traffic jam, I will be there in 10 minutes. Isaac had no choice but to say, "Okay, Master, I'll say hello to the people below, you can go and get it anytime." After confirming with Isaac, Charlie said to Claire, "My wife, I will go out and come back soon." Claire hurriedly took his hand and said seriously, "Husband, don't go out to toss, just watch TV at home. It doesn't matter whether you set off fireworks or not." Charlie smiled slightly and said lovingly, "It's okay, you wait at home, and your husband will be back soon." After speaking, he got up and took Claire's car keys and stepped out of the house. Claire still wanted to stop him, but seeing that he was walking very fast, he had already left the door in the blink of an eye, so she sighed helplessly and told him, "You drive slowly, don't worry." Charlie's voice came from outside the door, "Good wife, I know." Seeing Charlie left, Elaine couldn't help sighing, "Claire, Mom say to you, Charlie is really good for you." After speaking, Elaine said with emotion, "Before, Mom always felt that Charlie was not good enough to be worthy of you. You should find a rich young master to marry to be considered a good marriage." But Mom didn't understand until now that the most important thing about marriage is the relationship foundation. Money is not so important. What's important is that he has to treat you as a treasure so that you can live happily. Charlie drove straight to Shangri-La, and Isaac's subordinates had already pushed a trolley and waited at the gate. Seeing Charlie's arrival, he hurriedly pushed the car forward and said respectfully, "Master Wade, Mr. Isaac asked me to prepare some fireworks for you. Would you like me to help you get in the car?" Charlie nodded, opened the trunk, and said, "Thanks for your hard work." The other party hurriedly waved his hand and said, "Master, you are polite, this is what I should do." After that, he put several large boxes of fireworks into the trunk of the BMW car. Charlie said thank you, then drove back and dared, and at the same time called Claire to ask her and her father-in-law to prepare, and then get in the car directly to find a place where they can set off fireworks and firecrackers to find the New Year atmosphere. Claire was very happy, put on thick down jackets with her parents, and waited outside the gate of Thompson early. As soon as Charlie's car arrived, the family of 3 got in. Claire asked Charlie, "Husband, where are we going to set off firecrackers?" Charlie smiled and said, "As long as you are not within the city limits, you can think about where to go." Jacob suggested at this time, "Or go to the riverside. The riverside scenery is good. After the fireworks rise, the reflection on the river surface can be reflected, and it will be more artistic." Claire smiled and said, "Dad, this is a good idea. Then go to the riverside." Jacob hurriedly said, "I know there is a nice place with a large river embankment." Charlie listened to his wife and father-in-law talking about the riverside, and suddenly thought of Warnya from the Song family. Before, Warnya was passing by the Yangtze River when sending him home, and she suggested that he should accompany him on a stroll along the river. Without thinking about it, he readily agreed. What he didn't expect was that after walking on the riverside and returning, Warnya sent him to the gate of Thompson Villa, and then ssc'd him in the car. That scene still stays deep in Charlie's memory. Sometimes when he thinks about it, he feels a little different kind of warmth. Charlie, while thinking wildly, drove the car all the way to the Yangtze River under the command of Jacob. What he didn't expect was that the tidal flat led by Jacob turned out to be the place where Warnya brought him. Since it was New Year's Eve at this time, there was no one around. After Charlie parked the car, carrying a few boxes of fireworks with Jacob, they came under the river embankment. On a concrete-poured river embankment, Charlie placed the fireworks at certain intervals. On the other side, Jacob could not restrain his impulse and set off 2 firecrackers. The festive sound of firecrackers echoed along the river, and people immediately felt the feeling of the new year. When the firecrackers burned out, Charlie said to Claire, "Claire, I am going to set off the fireworks." Claire immediately took out her mobile phone and said excitedly, "Husband, wait a while, I'll turn on the video first." "It is good." After she took the mobile phone and turning on the camera function, Charlie lit the fuse of the fireworks. Colorful fireworks rose into the sky and exploded on the surface of the river. The wide river surface reflected the wonderful colors of the fireworks bursting in the sky. Claire was already dancing with joy on the side. After one group of fireworks burned out, Charlie immediately ignited the second group, followed by the third and fourth groups. Until all the fireworks were burned out, Claire's cheeks flushed with excitement. She hasn't had this feeling for a long time, setting off fireworks and firecrackers on New Year's Eve, so she is excited like a child at this time. Jacob and Elaine are also very happy. This Lunar New Year is of great significance to this family of 4. And this New Year's Eve, having lived so perfectly, made them feel an unprecedented sense of happiness. 24 o'clock on New Year's Eve. It is also the 0 point on the first day of the new year. Charlie set off the last set of fireworks, and Jacob also lit the last set of firecrackers. Claire put her hands on her mouth and shouted, "Husband, parents, Happy New Year!" Elaine leaned on crutches and shouted excitedly, "Happy New Year!" Jacob raised his head to look at the fireworks, the brilliant brilliance reflected on his face, and that face was already wrinkled, and it was full of happiness. At this moment, Jacob inevitably thought of Miking in his heart. This was also the first spring festival that Miking had after returning home after more than 20 years. Jacob quietly took out his mobile phone and sent a WeChat to Miking. The WeChat only had 4 words: Miking, Happy New Year. Charlie's mobile phone has been bombarded by WeChat notifications. Many people sent him New Year greetings at this moment. He didn't have the energy to reply one by one, so he posted a text in the circle of friends: Happy New Year to all family and friends. This night, thousands of houses in Oris Hill were lit up. Charlie's family of 4 even played on the riverside until 1 o'clock in the morning before driving back. Most people are immersed in the unique sense of happiness in the new year. Only the old Mrs. Wilson's family are still struggling with starvation. During the day today, Gina didn't know where to buy an old 21-inch color TV. This kind of broken TV, even if it is intact, can sell for dozens of dollars at most. Normal people almost don't even bother to take a look. However, for the 3 Gina and the others, this shabby old TV allowed them to watch the entire Spring Festival Gala intact and brought them great satisfaction and happiness. While watching TV, they ate all the New Year's Eve dinner they had prepared, and in the end they didn't even leave a bite of vegetable soup. After eating in the living room, the 3 of them did not forget to carry the TV back to Gina's room. In order to prevent Mrs. Wilson's family from taking any advantage of them. Mrs. Wilson and Wendy had been thinking about the little rice in the incense burner, so they had been hungry and boiled until a little bit more before finally putting Gina and the others to sleep. After making sure that Gina and the others were sleeping, they began to prepare porridge. The rice in the incense burner did not look very good because it had a lot of incense ash, but the old lady and Wendy, who were so hungry that their chests stuck to their backs, could no longer take care of them. They didn't say a word. They brought the incense burner into the kitchen very neatly, then poured out the rice and washed it clean, and immediately afterwards they used the rice to cook the porridge. The rice in the incense burner is almost over a gin, and it's all boiled into a big pot of porridge. Mrs. Wilson and Wendy each drank a bowl when the rice porridge was just cooked. Later, feeling that it was not enough to relieve hunger, so they drank another bowl. Feeling that the taste was a bit weak, the 2 secretly put the salt and soy sauce bought by Gina and the others into the rice porridge and stirred and drank. Gina tried every means to leave no obvious opportunity for Mrs. Wilson, but she did not expect Mrs. Wilson to think about the rice in her incense burner, as well as her own salt and soy sauce. Early the next morning, New Year's Day, Claire was a little bit tired because she went out to play around last night, and she still hadn't gotten up. Charlie has already woken up and made himself a cup of tea in the living room downstairs. In his spare time, he checked the circle of friends. In addition to the circle of friends wishing New Year, he also saw a circle of friends posted by Warnya. Leaving for Japan today, the cycle is estimated to be 1 week. During this period, please contact Mr. Honor for the relevant affairs of Oris Hill. Charlie couldn't help being a little surprised. He didn't expect Warnya to go to Japan on the first day of the Chinese New Year. At the same time, next door A04. Gina and the 3 woke up early. Although today is the first day of the new year, they still have to go to the supermarket to work and make money. The first thing Gina did when she got up early was to put a stick of incense on the portrait of Guanyin Bodhisattva, so that Guanyin would bless her in the new year with peace and prosperity. She lit the 3 sticks of incense, made a wish, kowtow, and when she stood up to insert the 3 sticks of incense into the incense burner, she suddenly realized that it felt a bit wrong. Originally, when the incense is inserted into the rice in the incense burner, there will be an obvious sense of damping. But now, she couldn't find any feeling. When she took a closer look, she was immediately angry. She screamed, "This dead old woman Wilson! Even dare to steal the rice from my incense burner!" Mrs. Wilson finally had a full meal and had a good night's sleep. Unexpectedly, the door of the room was kicked open by the angry Gina early in the morning. Before Mrs. Wilson could react, Gina rushed to the bed, slapped her face fiercely, and cursed angrily, "You dead old woman, even the censer used by me to give incense to the Buddha you dare to steal rice, are you still a human?" Mr. Wilson was dizzy by the slap. Looking at Gina's face that was close at hand was full of anger. She was so frightened that she blurted out and pleaded, "Gina, I'm sorry Gina. I didn't want to steal either. Your thing, but I was so hungry." Gina was furious and gritted her teeth, "It's your problem that you are hungry. What does it have to do with me? The incense burner is used by me to incense the Bodhisattva. You stole the rice in it. That would be disrespectful to the Bodhisattva. If you condemn me, you are hurting me." Lady Wilson couldn't help but choked up, "Gina, this New Year's Eve, you can't just watch my old lady starving to death in this house, right? You say, if I die in this house from hunger on New Year's Eve, how will you live here in the future? You lie in the bedroom upstairs every night thinking that I starved to death in this room downstairs. Would you feel better in your heart?" With that, Lady Wilson said in tears, "Gina, you just saved me, saved an old life. Didn't the Bodhisattva say? Save a life and win the 7th level Buddha statue. This is also considered accumulation of good deeds." Although Gina's expression eased a little, she still shouted coldly, "For the sake of the Bodhisattva, I can forgive you for stealing rice, but you must save your own behavior and pay a certain price." Mrs. Wilson hurriedly asked, "Gina, what price do you want me to pay?" Gina said coldly, "You honestly wash the clothes for the 3 of us for 1 day. I will think this has never happened." When Mrs. Wilson heard this, she immediately pleaded, "Gina, I was unwell yesterday and couldn't go to the supermarket to work, so I stole your rice. Today I said everything has to go to work, otherwise for the family of 4 today's rations are missing again, then I don't care." Gina said annoyedly, "Either you will wash our clothes, or you will give me the rice that you ate, and I will not ruin you. As much as you eat, you will pay me back and give the incense burner just fill it up." Mrs. Wilson cried her face in mourning, "Gina, all the rice has been boiled by me, now let me give you back what? Or else, you let me go to the supermarket to work today, and I get the money after work. I'll buy rice and return it to you immediately, do you think it's okay?" "No," Gina said without relenting, "if you choose to return the rice to me, then return it now, otherwise, just get out and wash my clothes honestly." After that, Gina threatened again, "If you toast and don't eat fine wine, don't blame me for being rude to you." Seeing Gina's grim expression, Lady Wilson knew that this woman was definitely not joking with her. She is now lonely and weak, how could she be her opponent? So, Lady Wilson nodded her head in tears, choked up, and said, "Okay, I will wash, I will go to wash." On the first day of the Lunar New Year, Mrs. Wilson's family of 4 did not get in. The three of Gina gave a lot of dirty clothes and bed sheets to Mrs. Wilson and asked her to wash everything today. So the old lady has no time to go out and make money. And Wendy, because of the need to take care of the injured and bedridden Noah and Harold, she couldn't get out at all. No one is going to make money, so naturally there is no food to cook, so the family can only stand hungry. Since Noah and Harold kidnapped Elaine, and mishandled Cynthia Wade, all four of the Wilson family have lost a lot of weight, and their lives have been miserable. The Charlie family next door packed up their things at noon on the first day of the Lunar New Year and drove to the hot spring villa Isaac gave to Charlie. The family planned to relax in the hot spring villa for 2 days. At the night when they arrived at the hot spring villa, Cynthia sat in the shabby rental house, looking bored at a takeaway dumpling. Since Charlie detained her in Oris Hill, Cynthia has been relying on takeaways to survive. And the hateful thing was that Charlie didn't allow her to order takeaways by herself. All the takeaways were ordered directly by Orville's confidant, and the price of each meal basically never exceeded 30 yuan. In the past few days, Cynthia was forced to taste a lot of popular delicacies that she had never tasted in her entire life. For example, yellow braised chicken rice, such as green pepper shredded pork rice bowl, Kung Pao chicken rice bowl, ramen noodles, northeastern potato noodles, donkey meat fire and so on. In the eyes of the Wade family, these common delicacies, which could no longer be ordinary, were simply rubbish in the trash. Not to mention eating a meal, or even smelling it, would make her feel sick. But now, Cynthia, who had always been aloof, can only feed on this every day. Yesterday was New Year's Eve and they couldn't order takeaways, so Orville's people gave her 2 boxes of instant noodles, a bag of ham and 2 braised eggs. Cynthia had eaten this kind of garbage when she saw New Year's Eve. Naturally, she lost her reason to live, and said that if she couldn't eat dumplings on New Year's Day, she would commit suicide on the spot. Therefore, Orville's people gave her a dumpling made by themselves. The dumplings are made with pork and sauerkraut. Because the younger brother of Orville and his family are all from the northeast, he loves this flavor of dumpling filling. But Cynthia ate all the delicacies of mountains and seas since she was a child, and Wade's dumplings had not been wrapped in pork. The most commonly eaten dumplings of Wade's family are mixed with shrimp meat from top lobster and fish meat from wild large yellow croaker. They are then chopped into meat puree by hand, and then wrapped with minced meat from shark fin and abalone. The cost of a dumpling is probably higher than the cost of ordinary people eating dumplings for a year. Cynthia had never eaten a bite of sauerkraut. For a young lady who grew up in a top family, pickled food like sauerkraut is a taboo they will never touch. Almost any food that needs to be pickled and fermented is equivalent to poison in her eyes. Therefore, she only tasted the pork and sauerkraut dumplings, and immediately spit it out, and then rinsed her mouth several times before finally getting rid of the taste of sauerkraut. Cynthia opened the door angrily and questioned Orville's younger brother, "What kind of shit dumplings did you bring? Is it the damn thing for people to eat?" When the man heard this, he immediately became angry. He spoke with a northeastern accent, and said angrily, "You stinky woman, why the hell do you talk? My mother made these dumplings, and I was kind enough to give you some. Are you talking like that? Are you willing to die?" Orville's subordinates did not know Cynthia's specific details. All he knows is that this is a middle-aged woman for whom the boss requires strict supervision. As for her surname, where she comes from, and what background, this person knows nothing. Therefore, when Cynthia got furious because of the dumplings he kindly brought, he immediately became a little angry, feeling that he was kindly feeding a vicious dog that barked. Cynthia didn't think that Charlie, one of his subordinates, spoke to her in this tone, suddenly becoming angry. She pointed to the other's nose and sternly said, "Do you know who I am? How dare you talk to me like this?" The other party gritted his teeth and cursed, "I care who you are, you insult the dumplings my mother made for me, and I can't get rid of your hatred if I don't strike your mouth." Cynthia became even more angry when she heard him mention dumplings, and cursed, "You have a face to mention dumplings. I'll ask you, what is the sour thing in that dumpling of your mother? Your mother is rotten and sour, and your mother is still making dumplings. Is it sick? Is the family so poor?" A man from the northeast who is about 1.8 meters tall, his face flushed immediately and annoyed, he said, "You know a asterisk. That's the sauerkraut we eat most often in the northeast. You haven't even seen sauerkraut. Are you still human?" Cynthia said with a haughty expression, "This kind of junk food, that is, poor people like you will eat it." After that, she took the dumpling and threw it directly on the opponent's face. Cynthia didn't care about the dumplings scattered all over the place. She stared at the strong man in front of her and said coldly, "I don't eat this garbage, you quickly go and prepare me a lobster dumpling." Seeing the dumplings that his mother worked so hard to make, Cynthia was so ridiculed by it that she even threw them all to the ground, and suddenly couldn't control them. He raised his hand and slapped Cynthia in the face. Cynthia was immediately slapped and scolded in anger, You dare to beat me? I kill you." The other party ignored her and said coldly, "Today's meal has been delivered to you. If you are not full, you can only wait for tomorrow." Cynthia blurted out, "What did you say?" "I ate one of your rubbish dumplings and vomited." The other party said lightly, "Then it has nothing to do with me. Anyway, I have delivered the meal. It is your business whether you eat or not." Cynthia gritted her teeth and said, "I won't eat your dumplings, you can order me a McDonald's." When the other party heard this, he roared angrily, "You don't want your face. Northeast sauerkraut is rubbish in your eyes, and McDonald's is not rubbish in your eyes? It's a damn good thing. Shame on you." After that, he closed the door directly and hung the lock from the outside. Cynthia didn't eat a bite of rice, so she quickly became hungry. In the evening, Cynthia couldn't help calling her father Zhongchuan, who was far away in East Cliff. She complained on the phone and told her father about her experience in Oris Hill. Then, she begged her father bitterly, "Dad, you put some pressure on that b***** Charlie, let him put me back quickly, I really can't stand it." After listening, Zhongchuan said calmly, "Okay, I've told you about this before. Since you did something wrong by yourself, then honestly stay in Oris Hill for a week." Cynthia choked and said, "Dad, I really can't bear it anymore. I don't know how to live this kind of ghost life. I didn't even stutter all day today. If this continues, I will be driven crazy." Zhongchuan frowned, and asked, "As a daughter of the Wade family, why don't you have this patience? You can't hold on to this little thing, what else can you do? Having said that, Zhong Chuan reminded again, by the way, from now on, you don't have any conflicts with Charlie, and don't end up with him because of these things. He has agreed to come back to attend the ancestor worship ceremony on Qingming Festival. That is a good start for him to return to the Wade family. Cynthia asked angrily, Dad, why do you always favor Charlie, that infamous bastard? He is a poor boy who has been living outside for many years. He has never read a book or went to school. What value does he bring to the Wade family? You still let him go back to attend the ancestor worship ceremony, he won't be able to embarrass us Wade family's direct line. Zhong Chuan said coldly, Charlie is also of the Wade family's bloodline. He still has the marriage contract of Philip's daughter. His potential value to the Wade family is incomparable to anyone, including you. So you don't fix any monster moths, let you stay in Oris Hill for 7 days and you'll just stay. A portion of pork and sauerkraut dumplings can find faults, you really don't look like floating. After Zhong Chuan finished speaking, he directly hung up the phone. Cynthia on the phone's end was naturally aggrieved in tears. The more so, the more she hated Charlie in her heart. In her opinion, she suffered hardships and was even scolded by her father because of Charlie. Therefore, she swears from the bottom of her heart that she must find an opportunity to make Charlie pay the price. And this ancestor worship ceremony is the best opportunity. Thinking of this, Cynthia murmured in her heart and swears, Charlie. Cynthia, I will definitely teach you a bitter lesson. Thinking of this, she wiped away her tears, opened the door, and said with an apologetic look to the subordinate of Orville, You gentlemen, I was indeed reckless just now. I apologize to you and hope you can forgive me. As she said, she bowed deeply. Seeing this, the other party's mood naturally eased a bit, so he said, Okay, because of your good attitude, this matter will be over. Cynthia was overjoyed and quickly bowed to thank him. Then she asked, Sir, can you please help me to send a message to your boss? At night, Charlie, who was in the Hot Spring Hotel, received a call from Orville. On the phone, Orville said to him, Master, your aunt asked me to bring you a message today. She said that she has been deeply aware of her mistakes in the past few days and wants me to say sorry for her and hope you can forgive her for being immature. Charlie said indifferently, It's impossible for a person like her to apologize to me willingly. It must be something else. Orville said, She said, I hope you can recite her good attitude and let her return to East Cliff in advance. Charlie sneered, No. Tell her to stop dreaming. She can't miss a minute in 7 days. Orville said hurriedly, Okay master, I will pass it on to her. Yet. Charlie said, After 7 days, let her leave Oris Hill immediately, and never allow her to come again. The overall living experience of the hot spring villa in Champs Ellis is much better than Thomson. It is located on the mountainside with beautiful scenery. Not only the scenery is excellent, but more importantly, it is very quiet. The distance between the villa and other villa is also very far, and the privacy is very good. In addition, although the total price of the hot spring villa in Champs Ellis is about half that of Thomson's first product, it is actually much larger than Thomson's first product in terms of the construction area and courtyard area. Housing prices in the city are very expensive, mainly because of the land price. The Champs-Élysées is located in the suburbs, so the land price is much lower than in the city. Claire likes the environment very much. For her, it has been a long time since she had the opportunity to experience such a relaxed and quiet life. Therefore, the family simply decided to take advantage of the Chinese New Year holiday to stay here for a few more days and relax. Elsa has been trying her best to invite Claire and Charlie to visit Eastcliff, but Claire is still hesitating. She feels that going to Eastcliff will inevitably have to go back and forth, and no matter how good someone else's home is, it's far away from living in someone else's home. It's not as good as living in own home, so she hesitated. On the second day of the Lunar New Year, while Charlie's family was still enjoying their vacation in the hot spring villa, Warnya had already started meeting with Nippon Steel's senior officials in Tokyo. The Song family's involvement in steel manufacturing this time was a careful decision after Warnya thought twice. The steel industry is the foundation for the development of the modern industry. Whether it is light industry, heavy industry, or military industry, it is inseparable from the support of the steel industry. The Song family had been involved in the steel industry earlier, but they never seized the opportunity to become bigger and stronger. Now, she takes over the Song family, hoping to increase the overall industrial scale of the family by a step, so she decided to bet heavily on steel companies. The specific plan is to establish a steel company focusing on special steel smelting in Heiken, a city on the lower reaches of the Yangtze River not too far from Oris Hill. Heiken is the city where Taylor is located. Although Taylor is the richest man in Heiken, his main direction is real estate and supporting commercial development, which is highly similar to the development direction and industrial form of Wanda Group. As Heiken is a city on the lower reaches of the Yangtze River and closer to the sea, shipping is also very convenient. Iron ore and other raw material purchased from Brazil and Australia can be easily transported via the sea by 10,000-ton bulk carriers to the city. The most important part of the iron and steel industry is transportation. The amount of iron ore is huge. Therefore, shipping conditions must be supported to reduce costs to the greatest extent. This is why almost all large-scale steel companies are established in coastal cities and cities along the river. The main reason: the Song family invested in a large area of industrial land in Heiken many years ago, which happened to be used to build a factory. So now the only thing the Song family lacks is a partner with strong R&D capabilities and a large number of steel patents. Therefore, Warnya set the cooperation target as Japan's Nippon Steel. She decided to adopt a joint venture like an automobile company to introduce Nippon Steel's cutting-edge technology in steel companies. Volkswagen, Guangqi Honda, and Chang'an Ford have basically adopted this kind of joint venture idea. After 2 to 30 years of joint venture development, these companies have indeed achieved very impressive sales results. Nippon Steel is also very interested in this cooperation, coupled with the Song family's strength, land, and certain experience in the steel industry. It is also a very good potential partner for Nippon Steel. So the two sides hit it off, and the rest is the discussion and formulation of cooperation details. Warnya's idea is that the Song family holds 51% and Nippon Steel holds 49%, but the idea of Nippon Steel is that they hold 51% and the Song family holds 49%. Don't look at such a slight difference in proportions, but it determines who has the final say in a company. Shareholders who reach 51% are undoubtedly the largest shareholders, and they have absolute power to say anything about specific matters of the company. Once the controlling rights are handed over to Nippon Steel, the Song family will lose all dominant positions in this cooperation. At the negotiating table, both sides saw the issue back and forth, but no one wanted to take a step back. Warnya said to Nippon Steel's senior management, "Everyone, our cooperation this time refers to the usual cooperation model of the auto industry. In our country, local auto companies and overseas auto companies have established joint ventures with local companies to hold shares percent. Overseas companies hold 49% of the shares. After that, the company is established in our country and it should be controlled by us. I hope your company can understand this." The person responsible for negotiating with Warnya is Nippon Steel's vice chairman, whose full name is Hashimoto Kinzaki, is a member of Nippon Steel's core management. Hashimoto Kinzaki is 40 years old this year. In Japan, a society where qualifications are extremely important, he can climb to the core management so early. It can be said that he is a very right-handed person. At this time, he looked at Warnya and smiled slightly. "Miss Song, I know the kind of cooperation model you mentioned in the automobile industry, but that kind of model is not suitable for this cooperation between Nippon Steel and you." Warnya said with a calm expression, "Mr. Hashimoto, why is it not suitable for our cooperation? I would like to hear more." Hashimoto Kinzaki said with a smile, "First of all, there are too many leading companies in the automotive industry. There are Toyota, Honda, and Nissan in Japan alone, BMW, Mercedes, Audi, and Volkswagen in Germany, and GM, Ford, and Chrysler in the United States. Not to mention the Ferraris, Lamborghini, and Maseratis in Italy. With such a large number of competitors, it is inevitable that their peers will be underestimated. Everyone will often lower their prices for the Chinese market." Speaking of this, Hashimoto's expression was stern, and he said seriously, "However, there are only a few leading companies in the steel industry. Among the world's top 10 steel companies, half of them are on the list due to large output. There are only 3 or 4 companies specializing in the core technology of special steel, and the only company in Japan is Nippon Steel. You have a Chinese saying, 'Rare is precious.' Miss Song, for the rare cooperation of Nippon Steel partner, it is normal to sacrifice more interests." Warnya hesitated again and again, and said, "Mr. Hashimoto, I really can't give up any more shares. The Song Group must hold 51% of the shares in this cooperation, but as compensation to Nippon Steel, we can give rope in terms of income rights. Nippon Steel has a certain degree of tilt. For all the net profits generated by our cooperation in the future, Nippon Steel will enjoy 51% of the net profit income rights. What do you think of this?" Hashimoto Kinzaki shook his head without hesitation, and said seriously, "Miss Song, we will not make any concessions on the equity issue. If we are willing to make concessions on this point, we will have deep cooperation with other steel companies in your country. How can we wait until today?" Warnya knew that what the other party said was true. In fact, Nippon Steel, a top-notch steel group, is very popular in any country. Especially their strength in special steels is among the top in the world. Special steel has a wide range of uses, and the more sophisticated the field, the higher the demand for special steel. such as the military industry. The most common barrels have very strict requirements on steel. If the material is excellent, the life and accuracy of the gun can reach the best, but if the material is not good, the life and accuracy of the gun will naturally not work. Some barrels, fired thousands of times, will wear out so much that they have to be replaced. Some gun barrels have reached the end of their life after hitting a few hundred rounds. If they don't work well, they may explode. Once they are put into use on the battlefield, it may affect the battle situation and results. In addition, tank armor, helicopter armor, and aircraft carrier decks all have extremely high requirements for steel. Therefore, everyone hopes to have in-depth cooperation with companies like Nippon Steel. But Nippon Steel is also very smart. They not only have a great appetite for foreign cooperation, but they are also very cautious about patents and scientific research results. Even if it is to reach a cooperation, they will not bring out the top results at the bottom of the box. At most, some castrated products are used to cover the civilian field, and the cutting-edge technology in the military field is never external. This time working with the Song family, what they want is absolute holdings. While letting the Song family surrender, contribute money, land, and power, they must do things under their hands and at their orders. As long as the Song family agrees to this condition, they will spend a few years gradually turning the Song family into their own puppets, or sweeping the Song family out of the game. Warnya didn't expect that she would give Nippon Steel 2 more profit rights, but the people of Nippon Steel still refused. So, she gritted her teeth and said, "Mr. Hashimoto, I can give Nippon Steel a part of the income right. The future net profit will be 55% for Nippon Steel and 45% for Song. How about this?" To give up 5 points in one breath, for Warnya, it was already a great compromise and concession. Unexpectedly, Hashimoto shook his head without hesitation and smiled faintly. "Miss Song, our Nippon Steel's requirement is to never give up the controlling rights. If you can't agree to the controlling rights, then there is no need to continue talking." Warnya suddenly felt very passive. She couldn't help but secretly think in her heart, "Now, on behalf of the Song family, I actively want to cooperate with Nippon Steel." So Nippon Steel directly squeezed my mentality and demanded a controlling stake, and it did not give in at all. If I continue to insist, then this matter may not be discussed. If this time I return without success, then all the preparatory work I have done will be lost. By the way, if I give up the controlling rights, it will be equivalent to giving up all autonomy. In the future, Nippon Steel will decide almost all the affairs of the company. Then the Song family will be too passive. Hashimoto Kinzaki saw her expression a bit tangled, and said with a smile, "Miss Song, this matter does not need to settle immediately without any hurry. You can go back and think about it first. Let's make an appointment tomorrow for a chat. What do you think?" Warnya hesitated for a while, then nodded gently. She is very clear that she has no initiative at all in this round of negotiations. If continue to talk like this, they will only become more passive. This is like buying things in a store. If the seller is anxious to make a move, the buyer will have more room for bargaining. For example, if the seller makes a price of 100, the buyer will directly say 20, and then you will sell if you sell. I go to another place to buy it, and then I can firmly seize the initiative. However, if the seller's mentality is very stable, the buyer will say 20, and the other party will directly say that you should go to another house. This will make the buyer lose the initiative. According to normal logic, buyers can only add up a little bit until the price can satisfy the seller. The specific transaction depends on the seller's psychological price. It may be 50 or 78, 10, even 90. However, the seller in front of Warnya was not prepared to make any concessions. He gave Warnya a very tough attitude. You can only buy 100 for this item, and 1 cent will not work. If you want to get 99, I'm sorry, then you can go to another house or go back and think about it. Warnya has no room for mediation at this time. The only way is to suspend the negotiation first, slow down the rhythm, and continue to come and talk tomorrow. So, she nodded and stood up and said, Mr. Hashimoto, then both of us will consider it carefully. If it is convenient for you, I will come back tomorrow morning. No problem. Hashimoto stood up with a smile, shook hands with Warnya, and said, Miss Song, I will send you out. After Warnya left Nippon Steel, she and her assistant got into the rented nanny car and rushed back to the hotel. At the same time, she sent a message to the family's WeChat group in the car, Nippon Steel must have a 51% controlling stake here. I will not give in. I give up the right of income to 55% and they are still unmoved. I have already come out of Nippon Steel. I will organize the negotiation points in the evening, and I will talk to them again tomorrow. Mr. Song immediately sent a voice message. Nippon Steel has always had a big appetite, but don't take them too seriously, because I learned some time ago that Nippon Steel's life is not easy now. Immediately afterward, the old man sent another voice. Their group has successively engaged in several large investment projects in the past few years, but they have not done it properly and wasted a lot of funds, so their revenue this year is under great pressure. On the surface, it seems very calm, but deep down, they must also be eager to cooperate with us. It's nothing more than trying to put on the air and strive for more benefits. Honor Song also sent a message, Warnya, don't worry, look for their flaws, and then hold them, they will definitely compromise. Yet, the old man said, it is now February, and they will soon release last year's financial report. If the financial data is not good, not only shareholders will trouble them, but investors will also complain. In that case, their stock price is bound to fall. If they can announce their cooperation with us before the financial report is released, it can also inspire the emotions of shareholders and investors. Warnya replied, Okay, I will get ready after I get back to the hotel, and talk to them again tomorrow. At this moment, Hashimoto's phone suddenly rang. The caller ID indicated that the call was from Oris Hill of the neighboring country. Honor, at this time, was in his luxurious duplex apartment in the center of Oris Hill, listening to the prompt tone on the phone with a wireless landline. Hashimoto got on the phone first, and said with a smile, Mr. Song is so fast. As soon as the lady left with her front foot, your call came from the back foot. At this time Honor, looking at the river outside the window, smiled faintly, and said, Mr. Hashimoto, I also just heard my sister say that the cooperation negotiation with you does not seem to be going well. Hashimoto Kinzaki laughed and said, she really thinks a little bit. She wants to cooperate with our Nippon Steel and also wants a 51% controlling stake. How is this possible? It is also cooperation. Mr. Song, you give me the terms. Much better than her. Honor said with a smile. Of course, women are too petty, so it is difficult to acclimate it. As long as Mr. Hashimoto and I work together, I will give 51% of the shares to Nippon Steel by then. I will give 9 more points to Mr. Hashimoto in private. Hashimoto Kinzaki said with some excitement, Mr. Song is really magnificent. After such a toss, you only have 40% left in your hand. Honor said indifferently, 40% does not matter. I do this not to make money, but to make friends with Mr. Hashimoto. Hashimoto Kinzaki smiled and said, Mr. Song is really too generous. But I want to know, what is the chance of our success in this matter? Honor said seriously, as long as you have the ability to keep my sister in Tokyo, the chance of success in this event must be 100%. Hashimoto Kinzaki said, Mr. Song, I'm not distrusting you, but I heard that before your sister inherited the seat of Song's patriarch, the Song's patriarch seems to have always been your grandfather. If I take your sister staying in Tokyo, will you be able to be the head of the Song family? Honor sneered and said seriously, my grandfather is old and has reached the age of being able to eat. Even if he wants to sit as the master of the home, he must have more than enough energy. Having said that, Honor said again, and Mr. Hashimoto, don't worry, since I have decided to do this, it is that I have no arrow back when I open the bow. Even if my own relatives stand in front of me, I will kill my relatives righteously. So, as long as you can cooperate with me, I will not let you down. Hashimoto slapped his lips first, and said with emotion, Tisk tisk, Mr. Song is really courageous and knowledgeable, but there is one thing, I must put the ugly words first. Honor hurriedly said, Mr. Hashimoto, please speak. Hashimoto Kinzaki said word by word, Mr. Song, I can help you solve your sister's trouble, but after I help you solve the trouble, you must honor your promise to me, otherwise, the recording of the call may be transmitted to the Song family or even to the police in your country. Honor said without hesitation, Mr. Hashimoto, please don't worry about this. After the event is completed, I will definitely honor my promise to you 100%. Hashimoto Kinzaki smiled slightly, in this case, Mr. Song will patiently wait for the good news. The following day, the third day of the Lunar New Year. Warnya rushed to the Nippon Steel Corporation early to continue negotiations with Hashimoto Kinzaki. After going back yesterday, Warnya thought about it all night. In order to win Nippon Steel, she made several plans for emergencies. After the two parties sat at the negotiating table, Warnya took the lead in coming up with her first plan. In the first set of plans, she still insisted on a 51% controlling stake, but in return, she was willing to adjust the share ratio to 40% to 60% in the first 5 years of cooperation between the two parties. In other words, give Nippon Steel 60% of the net profit in the first 5 years, and then adjust it to 55% after 5 years. Hashimoto's attitude has changed slightly from yesterday. He no longer rejected Warnya's proposal very simply as he did yesterday, but started Tai Chi with Warnya. He made many things ambiguous, and neither agreed nor refused. This kind of hard and soft attitude made Warnya feel very helpless. The two sides have been talking about the approaching evening from the morning. Warnya has adjusted the profit share to Nippon Steel for the first 5 years to 65%, but Hashimoto recently refused to agree. Warnya really has no choice but to show her own cards, and said, "Mr. Hashimoto, it seems that both of us are unwilling to make concessions to each other on the issue of holdings. If it is not possible, you think this will work? 50% of the shares, under any circumstances, we guarantee that each other has 50% of the voting rights. All cooperation matters, we are equal. If our two sides can't make progress in the cooperation, we will also follow the 50% to 50% method, distribute all remaining assets equally." Hashimoto Kinzaki frowned and sighed, "Miss Song, both parties hold 50% of the shares, which means that everyone has no initiative. If there is any dispute or disagreement in the future cooperation, how to resolve it? If not, if a person can finally make a final decision, isn't it that you are caught in an infinite loop where you don't obey me and I don't obey you, but no one can help each other?" Warnya said with a very serious expression, "Mr. Hashimoto, if both of us want to cooperate to the best of our ability, even if there are differences, I believe that everyone can calmly resolve them instead of trying to smash each other. Since we seek cooperation, we just want to do things well. If we don't even have this prerequisite, then cooperation will indeed be difficult to continue." After that, Warnya said again, "So if you really have the sincerity to cooperate with our song group, the equity of 50 to 50 will not be a problem, but if you do not have this sincerity, then cooperation may not be necessary. It can be pushed forward." Hashimoto Kinzaki said embarrassingly, "Miss Song, there is a saying in your country that you call a villain first, then a gentleman. Since it is cooperation, it must take all the worst cases into consideration first, don't you think?" Warnya said, "Mr. Hashimoto, the equity is 50%, and the income is still 5 points. This is the last limit of our song group. If you think you can cooperate, then we will continue to talk. If you think if we can't cooperate, then we can only say sorry, so it's up to you to continue the conversation." Hashimoto Kinzaki did not rush to express his opinion to Warnya. Instead, he looked at the time, with a weird smile on his face, and said, "Miss Song, it's too early now. Otherwise, on your terms, I and our director let me give you long feedback. I will give you a definite answer at the earliest tonight and tomorrow at the latest. What do you think?" Warnya hesitated for a while, and said, "Well then, Mr. Hashimoto, I'll wait for your news." Having said that, she stood up, reached out to Hashimoto Kinzaki, and said politely, "Mr. Hashimoto, then we will go back to the hotel today. If there is any progress, please contact me as soon as possible." Hashimoto nodded first and smiled, "No problem, Miss Song, please rest assured to wait for my news." Warnya took her assistance and got up and left the office building of Nippon Steel. When going out, Warnya felt very complicated. Today, she has already revealed her final trump card, and she has no room for mediation anymore. If Nippon Steel's senior management can't agree, then she will return from Japan, this time without success. Upstairs of Nippon Steel, Hashimoto Kinzaki watched Warnya's commercial vehicle leave the parking lot downstairs, with a cruel smile on his lips, and picked up his mobile phone to make a call. As soon as the phone call, he smiled and said, "Mr. Song, the lady has been driven mad by me. I think the time is ripe and we can do it tonight. After tonight, your cousin will completely disappear from this world." Honor's voice came from the other side of the phone. "Haha, Mr. Hashimoto, then everything depends on you." At this moment, Warnya was very upset. She didn't expect Nippon Steel to be so difficult to chew. Moreover, during the entire negotiation process, she has been very passive, prepared so many hole cards, until the last hole card was also opened, and failed to finalize the cooperation. Deep down in her heart now, she has a strong sense of frustration. And she also had a hunch that she always felt that it would be difficult to get the result she wanted in this negotiation. Maybe, this time she will return without success. On the way back to the hotel, she told her family about her guess. Although Mr. Song was a little disappointed, he still encouraged her and said to her, "Warnya, this time you are cooperating with Nippon Steel, you shouldn't put too much pressure on it. It's good if this matter is negotiated, it's not right for us. There is no loss, nothing more than a little less, it doesn't matter." Honor also sent a message, saying, "Yes Warnya, Nippon Steel is notoriously difficult to eat. There are so many companies in China who want to cooperate with them in depth, but none of them really reached a conclusion. So even if it's really impossible to talk about it, there is nothing to lose." Honor's words immediately aroused the potential competitiveness in Warnya's heart. She feels that the more people and so many companies have failed to achieve, the more she wants to win it. Otherwise, she would become one of the countless losers. However, the current situation is not very clear, so Warnya dared not be too confident, so she said in the group, "Tomorrow I will try my last time to achieve success, but forget it." Grandpa Song said, "It's okay. Don't worry too much about success or failure. Grandpa doesn't want you to wrong yourself for business, understand?" Warnya felt a little more comforting, and replied, "Okay, Grandpa, I see." Honor said with a smile at this time, "Warnya, brother believes in your abilities, and brother believes that if you wake up early tomorrow morning, you will wait for the good news of your successful signing." Warnya knew that it was her brother who was comforting her, so she made a smile and said, "Brother, then I will borrow your good words." Back at the hotel, Warnya was a little bored, so she didn't even eat dinner. She just stayed in her room alone, combing through the plans she wrote, trying to find out the reason for not moving Nippon Steel. Due to excessive immersion, she did not realize that it was 10 o'clock in the evening. At this time, her doorbell rang. She stood up, walked to the door, looked through the cat's eyes, and found that it was her personal assistant, so she opened the door. Outside the door, the young female assistant said, "Miss Song, you haven't eaten anything at night. You should be hungry. Would you like me to order some food for you from the catering department and send them to the room?" Warnya did feel a little hungry, so she nodded and said, "Okay, you can help me order something." With that, Warnya asked again, "Have you eaten?" The female assistant nodded, "We have all eaten." Warnya smiled slightly, "That's good." 20 minutes later, the hotel waiter pushed the dining car and delivered the dinner the assistant had ordered for Warnya to the room. Warnya closed the computer, and just about to sit down and take a bite, she suddenly received a call from Hashimoto. Warnya couldn't help but wonder, why did Hashimoto Kinzaki call me so late? Could it be that they have already discussed the results? Thinking of this, Warnya inevitably felt a little nervous. She hurriedly connected to the phone and asked, "Mr. Hashimoto, what can I do for you?" Hashimoto Kinzaki smiled and said, "Ms. Song, I have given feedback to our chairman of your final cooperation intention today. He recognizes your sincerity very much, so let me inform you that I will cut the mess tonight. The contract is signed." Warnya did not expect that what she was waiting for was the most anticipated news, and she asked in surprise, "Mr. Hashimoto, what you said is true?" Hashimoto Kinzaki laughed and said, "I don't dare to talk nonsense about this. After that, I'm just the representative of the group to negotiate with you. The chairman of our company is the one who really made the decision. Since he has said so, there will be no falsehood." Warnya said excitedly, "That's great. Mr. Hashimoto, does the chairman of your group want to sign the contract tonight?" "Yes." Hashimoto said, "Our chairman's meaning is that since Miss Song is so sincere, then we should also show our sincerity and sign the contract as soon as possible." Warnya hurriedly said, "Okay. Mr. Hashimoto, please give me an address, and I will be there." Hashimoto Kinzaki said, "Miss Song is like this. Our chairman originally took a vacation at the Hilltop Villa in Nishitama County today, so what he meant is to let you sign a contract in Nishitama County now." Warnya asked, "Nishitama County? Where is it? I don't know Tokyo very well." "Please forgive me," Hashimoto Kinzaki said with a smile, "Nishitama County is about 70 or 80 kilometers west of Tokyo. You should be able to get there in more than an hour. Your driver must know the location. If you are convenient, you can come now." Warnya said without hesitation, "Okay, no problem, I will set out now." After hanging up the phone, Warnya immediately called her assistant again, and said with excitement, "Swallow, hurry up and prepare. Let's set off in 5 minutes and go and sign the contract with the chairman of Nippon Steel." "Ah?" Warnya's assistant Swallow asked in surprise, "Miss Song, Nippon Steel has agreed to sign?" "Yes." Warnya blurted out, "Their chairman told us to sign the contract now. You should ask the other to prepare quickly, and also ask the driver to prepare." "Okay, President Song." 5 minutes later, Warnya walked out of the room in a hurry. The two female assistants met her at the door, and Swallow said, "Mr. Song, the driver is already waiting at the door of the hotel. Let's go straight down." "Okay." Warnya nodded, and said eagerly, "Then let's go downstairs." In the car, Warnya told the driver the address given to her. The driver immediately entered the address into the navigation, and while starting the car, he said to Warnya, "Miss Song, the traffic is very smooth now. We will be there in about an hour and 20 minutes. Okay." Warnya nodded. Swallow on the side said at this moment, "Miss Song, do you want to tell Mr. Song this good news in advance to make him happy?" "You are right." Warnya just wanted to take out her mobile phone, call her grandpa, and tell her family about her major progress. However, When she thought of her brother Honor on the way back in the afternoon, she hesitated and thought, in the afternoon, my brother, in order to cheer me up, joked that I would receive the good news of my successful signing in the morning. I might as well sign the contract first, and wait until tomorrow morning to tell them and give them a real surprise. Thinking of this, Warnia put away her mobile phone and said to Swallow, "The contract has not been signed yet. Now I say it, this will be a bit hasty. Let me tell them after the contract is signed and the dust settles." The vehicle Warnia was in quickly drove out of downtown Tokyo and continued on toward the mountainous areas in the western suburbs of Tokyo. Although Japan is mountainous, the capital Tokyo is located in the Kanto Plain, so the entire Tokyo is flat, and there are almost no peaks in the city. One has to go west for dozens of kilometers until Nishitama County before entering the mountainous area. Mountainous areas are mostly winding roads, but the road conditions are very good. Commercial vehicles continue to drive on the winding mountain roads with 9 bends and 18 bends, and the altitude is gradually increasing. Because it was in the mountains and it was a long night, almost no cars were driving along the winding road for dozens of kilometers. Looking down from the sky, only Warnia was in the car with its lights on, circling through the mountain road. She was very happy at this time. Although in the final cooperation plan with Nippon Steel, the Song family gave up the controlling rights, but fortunately, the controlling rights did not fall into the hands of Nippon Steel, which is a relative compromise solution. Since taking over as the head of the Song family, Warnia has been working hard, but it is true that she has not made very outstanding results immediately. Therefore, she personally attaches great importance to this cooperation with Nippon Steel. I also look forward to using this cooperation to prove to everyone that I really have the ability to make the Song family better and better. At this time, the car has already run most of the winding mountain road. Occasionally when the car drove to the east side of the mountain, one can see the night view of the entire Tokyo east side at the feet. Sitting next to Warnia, Swallow took out her mobile phone with some excitement. While taking pictures of the scenery outside the window, she exclaimed, "The night view of Tokyo from the mountain is really unique." With that said, she tried to take a few photos, and said with some regret, "Oh, it's not clear to take pictures on the phone at night, so I can't capture this kind of mood at all." Warnia smiled slightly and said, "If you take a photo at night, the light is too weak, so long exposure time is needed. If you really want to shoot this kind of night scene, you have to find a place with a wide view, use an SLR with a tripod, and use a long exposure. This kind of feeling can be photographed in the same way." Swallow said in surprise, "Mr. Song, you know photography?" Warnia smiled and said, "It was popular to join various interest clubs when I was in college. I have fewer cells for singing and dancing, so I chose photography." Swallow smiled and said, "Then I will learn from you if I have a chance." Warnia nodded and said, "If the contract is successfully signed, we will rest in Tokyo for a few days and relax. Then I will buy an SLR and a tripod, and we will come here again to take night shots." "It's great," Swallow said cheerfully, "this way, I can stroll around and take a look in Tokyo." As they were talking, the vehicle drove into a U-shaped curve on the winding mountain road, and the driver subconsciously slowed down and entered the curve. After a slow and steady turn, a low roar suddenly came in front of him. The driver subconsciously turned on the high beam, and then he was stunned to find that a full-loaded heavy truck was in the middle of the road, leaping downhill and quickly diving toward him. The opponent's car is very large, and it is going downhill and extremely fast. Once a collision occurs on such mountain roads, the consequences will be disastrous. The driver of the commercial vehicle kept flashing his lights and honking his whistle, but the other party remained unmoved. What's more frightening is that the mountain road itself is very narrow, with only 2 lanes on the left and right, and the other side is driving in the middle of the road, so there is no room for commercial vehicles to dodge at all. When Warnya saw this, several questions flashed in her mind. What's the matter with that truck? Why doesn't it slow down? Before she could understand, the truck banged directly on the front face of the commercial car. Since this big truck is downhill and full of muck, its tonnage and inertia are large. Warnya's commercial car was in front of it, exactly like paper. The sudden impact directly knocked the engine compartment of the entire commercial vehicle into the front seat. The driver and the other assistant sitting on the co-pilot died instantly. Warnya sat in the middle row of the commercial vehicle and had buckled her seat belt, so at the moment of the impact, she was firmly tied to the seat by the seat belt. However, because of the great inertia during the impact, she had 4 ribs broken by the seat belt. And Swallow next to Warnya had no such good luck. When she got in the car, she was a little slack. She always felt that she didn't need to buckle the seat belt when she was sitting in the back. So at the moment of the impact, she flew out and slammed into the back of the front passenger seat. At this moment, her whole body was smashed including the head, and she instantly lost consciousness and went into a deep coma. Because of the rib fracture, Warnya felt terribly painful in her chest, but before she could catch a breath, the entire front face crashed into a commercial vehicle with scrap metal, and was pushed back by the big truck. Because the 2 front wheels of the commercial vehicle were smashed into a mass of scrap iron together with the wheel hub, there was a group of sparks abruptly pierced with the ground under the front face of the commercial vehicle. Warnya turned her head back hard at this time, glanced back, and she was suddenly cold in shock. Behind the car is that U-shaped curve. However, this big car obviously wanted to push the commercial car she was sitting in directly down the cliff. The height here is at least hundreds of meters, no matter what car, rolling down from such a high cliff, I am afraid it will fall into a pile of scrap iron. And the people sitting inside are afraid that they will die too. At this moment, she immediately realized that all of this was not accidental. This big car deliberately did not turn on the lights, deliberately drove in the middle of the road, deliberately hit her car by going downhill, and not only did not decelerate at all after the impact, it even slammed on the accelerator, trying to push itself into the cliff with others. At this time, she could no longer think about who was murdering her behind her back. Because she knew that her life might only have less than a minute left. She had never expected that she would be buried in a foreign country today in her great years, and a strong feeling of grief suddenly appeared in her heart. At this moment, the first thing she thought of in her mind was not herself, nor her grandfather and other relatives, but the man that always lingered in her heart, Charlie. She choked in her heart. I originally thought that there is still a long way to go in life, so it is okay to wait for Master for a few years or even more than a dozen years, but who would have thought that my life is about to fall down a cliff in Japan? Alas, I die in a foreign country. Thinking of this, Warnya was already full of tears. She endured the severe pain in her chest, took out the phone, clicked on the top of Charlie's portrait, and then clicked the voice message button. At this time, the commercial vehicle has been pushed to the edge of the cliff by the truck. Warnya looked at the phone and cried and said, "Master, I really love you. If there is a chance, Warnya will be your woman in the next life." As soon as the voice fell, the entire commercial vehicle had been completely pushed out of the edge of the cliff, rolling and falling into the abyss. When the business car rolled and fell off the cliff, Warnya was already nervous to the extreme. However, the more at this critical moment of life and death, her brain became more sober. Her brain was spinning fast at this moment, and many things came to mind in her mind all of a sudden. Because of the speed of thinking in her mind, it seems that time has slowed down. When the commercial vehicle hit the cliffside boulder, Warnya felt that her whole body was completely destroyed by the violent impact. Fortunately, she is still sitting in the luxury car seat of a commercial vehicle. This kind of seat is very comfortable and safe. The most important thing is that the body contact part is very soft. The soft part of the seat can greatly alleviate the huge impact on the body, which is like putting eggs in a box wrapped in cotton, and the safety factor is greatly increased. But because of that, Warnya still had huge inertia when she was hit, and she almost fainted her whole body. The huge inertia even squeezed her internal organs together. The pain was beyond imagination. But at this moment, she suddenly thought of something she had been carrying close to her body. At this time, after the vehicle hit the boulder, it bounced up several meters into the sky and then continued to roll down. Warnya tried her best to spin her hands into the pockets of her clothes. Immediately afterward, she took out a wooden box the size of a ring box. Because the car body was still rolling, she could only grasp the wooden box with both hands, and did not dare to relax, for fear that the wooden box would let go. Because she knew that what was in this wooden box was her only life-saving straw. Warnya quickly opened the wooden box, and when the vehicle was about to collide next time, she did not hesitate to put the pill stored in the wooden box into her mouth. Boom! This time, the impact of the vehicle was more serious. The commercial vehicle directly faces down and hit a boulder. In an instant, Warnya's car door on the right side was smashed into a huge depression. This powerful force, the recessed car door directly hit Warnya's right knee, and even broke her right leg. The severe pain caused her to scream, and then, the whole car began to roll violently on the rocks full of steep slopes. While the vehicle was rolling over, Swallow repeatedly bumped up and down in the carriage. She was so terrible that she had already lost her life. Warnya watched her body roll back and forth in the carriage. She wanted to help but she couldn't take care of herself. She could only watch her and her tears suddenly burst. When the vehicle vacated again, the window was already completely broken due to the rolling speed too fast, so Swallow's body was thrown out of the window. Warnya broke down and cried. She herself suffered all the injuries, and almost all of her brain, internal organs, and limbs were severely damaged. She even felt that she was on the verge of dying. However, the pill that Charlie gave her was kept in her mouth and never swallowed. She knows that the pill can only save hers once. If she swallows it early, maybe she will die when the vehicle rolls and falls. Therefore, there is only one belief in her mind: I must persist and persist. Do my best to persist to the end, and then leave the destiny to God. Immediately afterward, another thought emerged in her mind: no. Not to hand over the destiny to God, but to Charlie. It was another violent impact. Warnia felt that she was about to lose consciousness. Between the last electric light and Flint, she bit into the pill and swallowed the pill with a bit of medicine fragrance into her abdomen. In the next second, Warnia had completely lost all consciousness, and her body continued to roll down with the car. At this time, a strong medical force was dissolving in her belly. The power of the medicine was conducted extremely fast, and it quickly poured into every part of her body through the meridians. At this time, Warnia's body had almost lost all vitality, but at this moment, the powerful medicine made her body instantly recover. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.